listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Revolution After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Revolution After Show.
Hey guys, what is happening? And a huge round of applause at the beginning. I was clapping, I don't know if you saw it. But, guys, I am so excited for another episode of Revolution because Bing is for doing, and we're doing the AFTERBUZZ edition of Revolution. Joining me, as always, across from the studio, the very, very lovely Derrial Christon.
Hello, all.
And sitting next to him, the ever so handsome Kristen Snyder.
Oh, hello, guys. Let me lower my voice for that handsome
And
moment.
next to me, the ever so beauteous Kristin Snyder, or Kristin Carole. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Hey guys.
No,
Too many
I'm
Kristins.
throwing
Kristins in the
myself
house.
off here. I'm throwing myself
And
off.
we've got, Kristen Klein over here.
And I am Kristen Klein, aka Dave Klein. I go by 2 names. And guys, we're excited to talk about the plague dogs. It really makes sense here because we find out, especially in this episode, the whole lack of medicine and how much that means in this world. And we're going to hear a lot about that throughout the episode. But let's go ahead and jump right into the beginning of the episode, where Charlie is, she's running with what is essentially a week's worth of rations. And what seems like one of the militia is chasing after her and tackles her down and is trying to get it and capture her. And his whole point is that he doesn't really seem like that bad of a guy to me. He just doesn't want to get in trouble, is sort of what I took it from. Where she's like, just leave me alone. And he's like, look, I just don't want to get in trouble. If I leave you and let you go, that's going to be my ass.
Yeah.
Probably because he hasn't seen a girl in a while. Just thinking.
I like.
And he wants some ass.
I really enjoyed the shaky cam, the camera shots and the shaky cam. I actually really liked that. I wish we got more of that from this world because it kind of takes you, out of sync, and that world is really like shaky, and we should feel like scared and nervous being in that world. So they should do that more often.
Very Cloverfield.
Yeah.
You want
do
little
it.
Cloverfield action.
I like it.
And Cloverfield was such an awesome movie. I'm all about it. So we find out, so Miles then helps out and is all sort of plotted out. And he basically goes to this militia guy's like, I'm Miles Matheson, so you know what that means.
Sucker.
And you are going to tell me exactly what you know about Captain Tom Neville. Was he here? What's going on? And they discover that he's heading to Noblesville, which, what do you know? That's exactly where they're heading, and it's a day away. How everything is a day away.
So convenient.
Everything. So they're heading to Noblesville. What did you guys think about this exchange? Because Charlie starts grilling Miles and is just so pissed at the end of the scene about how even his name strikes so much fear into the heart of young men.
Charlie, shut up. Drop it. I agree. No one cares to hear about Charlie, and everyone likes Miles, so that's how I feel.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly still upset with him from the information that was revealed last week, but I think, Charlie, you need to let it go.
Yeah.
He's saving your ASS right now. Let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Charlie was grilling him last week, and I thought they'd kind of moved on past it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, she's still in this funk about it. And he proved last week, too, that he's willing to do what he can to save them. I mean, he basically sacrificed himself for her.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not enough for her. It is not enough.
No.
Well, she just, I think she's definitely likes to solve different things, and there's a lot to the puzzle that is Miles that she doesn't have a piece to.
Yeah.
I think she wants a sense of control over something she doesn't know yet. So
Right.
I want to hear more about Miles' story too. I just wouldn't grill him necessarily how she does it because it's definitely going to annoy him.
I feel like
As it did.
he is actually like the biggest mystery and like the coolest part of the story at this point. Like, you know, his involvement in the militia. And they're not giving that to us, and I feel like they just should, because then taking it from there, once we figure out that backstory, if they would just jump ahead to that and then take us into what happened then, I would be much more intrigued in the storyline. But at this point, I'm just kind of like waiting until we get there.
I tend to think they'll do that in the next one because this show was really about Maggie. We learned a lot about her because of what happened.
Did we ever, a question though, guys, did we ever need Maggie in this show?
I mean, I think she acts as the doctor character because, especially in this society, you need somebody who can be that doctor.
Did she help anyone?
She poisoned the people at the beginning who were trying to rape
she did.
everybody.
Yeah, that was
In the plane.
I liked that. That was badass. But I wish that she just had a bigger role because I just felt like she wasn't really that important
Well,
in
I
the
also-
show entirely.
I think that maybe also they had her there because Charlie sort of needed a mother figure since her mother wasn't there. So Maggie fulfilled that role slightly even though she gave her a tough time those last couple episodes, she fulfilled that role for her, which wasn't there for her.
Well, and who knows what would have happened with Ben since his wife's gone, and I think she kind of helped, although he saved her, she probably saved him, and maybe we'll get to see a little bit of that later in flashbacks, because I would assume she'd be back for more stuff because she was there when they were growing up.
I don't understand why she couldn't find a ship to get back to England. Like, where were the ships?
Well, she was walking from Seattle all the way to the East Coast, so
That's
how
a
long did
damn
that take?
far walk.
Yeah.
Long walk.
It
Why
probably took
didn't-
about a day.
Why wouldn't she just
Probably took about a
go?
day.
Why wouldn't she just go to the West Coast and look for ships there?
Well, because she's trying to get to
England.
England. You can't really, especially with that type of technology,
know, but
you're not
ships-
going to take a ship.
Okay, but ships go faster than walking, so I think that would have been her best bet, is to
She
get on a
also-
ship there rather than
also-
walk 3,000 miles
I
to
mean,
a ship.
are there really ships, though, that are traveling from Seattle, south of the United States, around Mexico, through the Panama Canal?
Honestly, I think she should have just got on a ship. Like, let's think about it. You gonna plan to walk 3,000 miles, or are we just gonna sail? Like, you could take one ship to the next
You
ship.
have to go south of South America or through the Panama Canal. That's a pretty damn
That's a
long
pretty
trip.
different-
Or you go to China and then you got to walk all the way to London.
I just feel
from
like
there.
she'd meet people, you know, that could take her on ships or like the connection. I just don't feel like walking from the West Coast to the East Coast and then taking a ship was the
I
right
think that's
way.
the only way in this world. I mean,
I don't know.
Well, and she said that on her journey over, that people were telling her that there were ships available on
Yeah.
the East Coast, but probably just by the time she got there,
They were all
they
gone.
stopped doing it. And the guy said that the militia had taken whatever was left besides. And I'm kind of curious. The guy mentioned about after the wars, so it must have taken her a couple of years to walk all the way across there. And I hope we kind of see those battles.
yeah.
Of what happened.
flashbacks,
He's like,
for
after
sure.
the wars, there weren't any more ships. And that piqued my interest into kind of, you know, what did they have to do with the wars? And do we get to see Miles have an effect on that? Was that the militia's fault? I
That's a
don't know.
good point.
So something else that I thought, at least for me, that Maggie was kind of why I found her to be an important character was she was the one who brought out the loss of the photos of her kids. And that was, I think, of all the things that people lost because of electricity, the loss of those photos that really mean something to you was the one that hit me the most. So in that sense, I think that's why, at least for me, Maggie was more of a bigger character and what she brought to the table.
We could have given someone else a cell phone, though. I don't know. I just didn't care that she died. I was
Well,
like,
that's-
okay, great.
Well, that's probably why they killed her off, is because we really don't need her that much.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of Maggie and Aaron do end up running into the group. They do meet up. They're at the meetup reunion spot that they planned out, which I think was Noblesville, right? Or somewhere around.
No, it was close to it, and it was 2 weeks after they had left. So
Right.
now we're 2 weeks later.
And Aaron doesn't want to tell the group about the pendant, which, as we talked about last week, I think is a smart decision not to tell people. Because as he himself says, and he says his reasoning, is because people would kill for this. This is something that we should keep to ourselves because who knows what will happen if this knowledge is out. Ben died for this.
Right.
And just plausible deniability for the rest of them.
Oh,
They
for
don't
sure.
know about it. They can't be taken.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So after they end up meeting up, they have their reunion and they run into some dogs eating a deer. And the dogs are pissed off.
Yeah.
They're not happy, even though they have their food.
Yeah.
They're just not happy. And Miles wants to run!
And you
As
never
he says
run.
like that.
Never run. run.
Please
You
explain.
should know that. Yeah.
And
We should have lessons by
yeah,
Derrial.
we all know the rules here. Whenever you see, mad dogs, you never run from the dogs because you take a moment and just sort of slowly walk away, because if you run, they're going to run after you, which they did. And these dogs are hungry. They probably have rabies and they're crazy.
And when they leap at you, you punch them in the face.
Or you use your crossbow, like I said, and just shoot them.
Well, Maggie did, and that didn't turn out too well for her.
Well, that's true.
But because Aaron is climbing up and gets bit,
Yeah.
climbing the fence, and as you said, Maggie crossbows the dog for Aaron's sake and gets into some trouble because of that.
Yeah.
So before that happens though, Aaron talks about, and this is sort of the whole medicine thing that was one of the key factors to this episode, is that Aaron's concerned about rabies because in this day and age, there's not really a way to treat it. If you get that, it's just he's kind of screwed. So he is, I think rightfully so, concerned about it. And it's even something we were joking about before he said it, like he's gonna get rabies.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad he brought that up too.
Yeah.
I wish he did get rabies. Like, come on, throw some
Kristen just loves
wrenches
people
in.
dying.
No, I like dramatic scenes, and we're not getting that. Yeah, give someone rabies. Let's see that happen. Oh, she got her artery cut. That doesn't do anything for me. I didn't see that happen.
I mean, I saw her get stabbed. I don't know about you.
Man,
Your face is priceless.
this is a whole
need
different
some,
side of Kristen I haven't seen.
We need some Game of Thrones up in here.
No, in Game of Thrones, Kristen wanted more deaths too, okay? That's how
Okay.
extreme Kristen is.
All right, I didn't
She was
know.
like, I'm not getting enough deaths here during Game of Thrones.
You still gotta
And during
consider
Luck, she wanted more
NBC.
horses
You
dying.
know what happens in
Oh, the
Boy Meets
horses.
World? People die.
Yeah, that's what I got out of when I watched it as an adult. That's when I watched it. So Miles, after they get away from the dogs, Miles is telling Nora that he wants to leave the group, and she tells him that he is a selfish dick.
They're pushing
I had
the
it
limits.
underlined.
So many swear words. What is up with that? I really don't feel like the swear words are adding to the action. So
I know she should have called him a selfish penis because it's not a swear word.
That's not a swear word.
I think that's what she should have done. So Charlie overhears this
I
conversation.
think they would have dropped the show if that
I
happened.
think so.
Well, nice. Better stop writing then. So Charlie overhears this conversation, and she's clearly distraught by the look on her face, and Miles sort of just brushes past her.
Yeah.
And I think, what we find out later is just seems like for Charlie, for her, everybody in her life, her family's just leaving her, and she's losing everybody. So this is just another case of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that happens, we get, let me look at my notes for a second.
I like that Nate's back. What do you guys think about that?
That all of a sudden we just saw him kind of in the distance
Yeah.
in the amusement park, and as soon as we saw him, Miles knows that he's
Yeah.
there, so he starts to go over.
I kind of
and
knew
attack
that
him.
Miles didn't leave. You can tell his love for Charlie,
He's not
even
gonna
though
leave
he didn't always know her as her uncle. But also, I just knew that Miles and Nate were both tracking them and follow them behind. So they both care about Charlie, and you can kind of see that in that glance that they exchange further on in the show.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for a Merle Walking Dead, cut off his
Oh,
arm to get
yeah.
out
Oh,
of
yeah,
there.
that'd be
But
nice.
then again, I keep having to remind myself that it's NBC, and I don't.
And there's
So-
no
all
zombies.
that.
I kind
There's
of
only Dogman.
I was thinking about this. So with Nate,
Yes.
or whatever his name really will be.
Yeah, when
once
are we gonna
when are we
find
gonna
out
find that
Nate's
out?
name? That's really annoying.
That's
at
really
this point.
annoying. I do
Probably
want
Nate
to
is
find
not
that.
his
Backstory.
name.
I know his name is Nathaniel. We talked about this.
Right,
okay?
right.
We got it.
But do you think that he really is just trying to save Charlie all this time, or down the line he's gonna turn on her again in some weird militia kind of way?
He loves her.
You think it
love
is really
the
love?
strongest thing in this world.
Wow.
I think he's playing up the militia thing, but he really is going to take Charlie's side.
Okay.
He does
would
when
love a twist
Miles
on
is
that,
beating him
though.
up, he does say the whole thing about how he kind of threatens Miles with the
Yeah.
militia aspect.
He does.
But I took it more of like he was being threatened and taunted, so he was like, I'm going to dish it right back at you.
Right.
So he's not going to take anything other than a
first-
little handcuffing.
Again, everybody likes Charlie. She's like the only young girl that we've kind of seen around here, except for Nora's a little bit older, but obviously her heart belongs to Miles.
I really like that conversation that Maggie had with Miles, saying that he needs to let Nora help him and she could possibly save him.
Right, and this is sort of what we get right after that
I thought he
scene
was talking
too.
about Charlie doing that because Charlie did it.
Yeah, she was talking about Charlie saving Miles.
I guess so,
So
but
Miles
I
shouldn't
kind of
lead.
saw it as Nora too, because I feel like
Okay.
Nora and Charlie both are trying to save Miles at this point, but he's not letting any women into his life.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I kind of wrote that down as a major plot point because I think not only do we see a lot about Maggie's character, but I think it was also an opening of discovery for Miles' character.
Yeah.
Because he really does, after she says that, seem to take it to heart. And it seems like it does matter to him. And as much as he puts on the facade that nothing does, this really does get to him, her explanation, because she kind of gives him the story. And this is where we see her flashback, where Maggie is talking to her kids through Skype, or I would assume Skype.
Yeah. I think that's
Maybe
what it
it's because it's sponsored by Apple. Maybe it's Face Chat.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it could be
Do we
FaceTime.
know what she was doing in the States? work?
She's probably just Seattle for work. So she's in Seattle. We see the Space Needle in the background. And
Very detailed
Very,
there.
very
That was
detailed.
such a fake picture.
Yeah.
It's kind
I
of
don't know what
funny.
you're talking about.
I believed it. I believed it,
I
yeah.
felt like I was in Seattle.
I did.
So, as she's talking to her kids and was going to read them a bedtime story, the lights and the power just shuts off on her, and she's telling Miles this story about how all she wanted was her kids again, and that it was Charlie who ended up saving her because it was finding somebody else to care about. And I think it's more not that necessarily. I think it's the idea of it's someone to care about and someone to live for. So you're living for somebody else, not just yourself.
Right.
And I think that was what Maggie needed, and she thinks that Miles needs, is to live for somebody else.
Can I still had a little bit of a problem with the hotel room, and that when all the lights went out, it wasn't pitch black in that room. I know, Kristen, that you said the moon beam could have been really high. I just don't know if it would have been that high where she
moon
would
is
still be able
bright.
to see.
it almost
moon
would have
is
been
really
a full
bright.
moon. It would have had to have been to have the power go out.
We've got the studio lights. I mean, those went out too. Studio lights. So as they're talking about this, the dogs are back. Oh no!
Dogs, the Cujos.
And their plan is, while they're standing on the thing, we have to escape to the diner. So they run into the diner. Maggie doesn't make it to the diner. And Dogman, which is what we're calling him because he doesn't have a name, Dogman stabs her in the artery for specifically, he knows that's where the artery is.
Yeah.
And he says, "That's for killing my dog, bitch."
Did we see that? Did we see her ever kill a dog?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the crossbow.
Yeah, the crossbow.
Okay.
When it bit Aaron.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
was this scene.
And we see her get stabbed in the artery. Just, we see that too.
Yep, that was really gruesome.
So, anyway, so Maggie ends up
I
getting
turned
away.
away.
So Maggie ends up getting away, and she realizes that she's bleeding out and that she's probably not going to survive. So they stitch her up. She stands up and she gets shot because that's what happens to Charlie, as we
Yeah.
found out last episode, when Charlie stitches someone up.
Yep.
So Miles goes off to try and find the Dogman, and Maggie is telling Charlie that, look, it's my artery. I'm going to bleed out. I just want you to leave me. Go find your brother. Just leave me. So she's trying to be selfless here and say, there's no chance I'm going to survive. Just do what's best for you. I want you to survive. And that's sort of the a lot of what we get of Maggie's character, and more. She's kind of more insulting, I feel like, and more like throwing out insults in the first episode. But
British humor, man. British humor.
you're right. Maybe it is. She's just being very open and honest. I think that's sort of the British humor and British way is just to be open about everything.
Yeah.
Say what you think.
Say what you think.
Say what you
Mate.
think.
And I like that Charlie actually joked around a little bit in that serious moment where she goes, "You've been around for me and annoying and always in my face, and now it's payback. You're
Yeah.
gonna get it whether you like it or not." I
I
thought
like
that was
that
a nice
too,
way.
yeah.
Because you don't see her use that kind of humor very often. It's usually very, we have to save the day, and everything, and it was a little Miles humor, I felt like.
It was.
Slightly. Runs in the family.
Well, it was nice that she finally got that thank you from Charlie for filling in for her mom, because up until this point, Charlie's been actually sort of mean to Maggie and not accepted her in her life as a mother figure, so it was nice that she gave her that right before she died.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of the same thing. I mean, I thought it was a very touching scene in that particular section of the show, especially Tracy, who plays Charlie. I thought her acting was great in that scene. I mean, she had those tears going. I thought it was a very touching moment.
Yeah.
And believable.
So, while they're trying to fix up Maggie, Charlie is taken by Dogman.
Dogman.
Taken by
The
Dogman
dog man.
into his chamber. And
Dogman.
so she's taken into his chamber, and Dogman tells her all about Lila, which is his daughter. And she goes, "Oh, where is your daughter?" And he goes, "She's dead." So
From tetanus.
she is dead.
Or,
Or
however
that
this creep
other
is.
word.
I mean, I felt when he touched her, I was creeped out. I felt that touch.
It rhymes with grape. So
Yes, it
But we
does.
can't use that word.
so
Tape?
yeah, exactly. It was just tape, especially duct tape. It got stuck to her, and she strained.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird,
So
yeah.
we do again get this theme though, that it's because he has all this medicine. Some looters come, steal all the medicine, and her daughter steps on a rusty nail and gets tetanus. And just one of these simple diseases that right now we look at and be like, oh, you have tetanus, go get a tetanus shot.
Right.
Or we could do something else about it. Oh, you have rabies, go get a shot for it, or go
Yeah.
get medicine for it. And there's all these things that we really take for granted today in this era, especially when it concerns medicine, that we really take for granted. How many of these diseases to us seem so simple?
Yeah.
But
That's a
really,
great point, Dave.
it is a huge deal. Thank you. Really, it is a huge deal when you don't have that. And I feel like with the technology being lost, I think this might really be the most major issue that we're going to run into if this were to happen in real life, the loss of medicine, because our society is so used to having this, and just how many things that would affect because of our modern medicine being
Everything.
gone.
Yeah.
So we'll have to go back and learn natural methods of healing, is what I'm really saying. Start studying up.
Whiskey and a needle and a sewing
Yeah,
kit.
whiskey,
Yeah.
a needle, and a sewing kit.
Going into that, can I pause? I don't have any science today, but I have some survival skills.
Survival!
Survival
Nice.
skills!
That was nice.
You guys
far.
were on. That was awesome. Okay, so here's some survival skills. You should learn how to grow your own food. This is like fresh, wholesome food, and it's better for you. And we talked to Ben, and he does this.
Tim.
Tim Genny, we talked to him last week, and he actually has his own farm, and he says the food tastes better, so
I
we
believe
should
that.
all do that for sure. Learn basic carpentry and home repairs. So many of us have no idea how to do that, and if we had to build shelter, we would fail miserably. So definitely take some skills and learn those classes. Learn to trap and hunt. I was actually, when I lived on the East Coast, I was all like, no, don't kill deers, but I would be in some trouble, and I would go find those people who I like yelled at for killing deers.
Well, when especially at this point in time, though, it
Deer.
wouldn't be because right now in our day and era, a lot of it's for game purposes and it's not
Yeah.
for survival. But when it comes to survival, it makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
Yeah.
as opposed to game.
But I don't know how to hunt, do you guys?
I know how to use a shotgun.
What
too.
about fish?
And I know how to use a bow and
I used
arrow.
to
I
know
trained
how
in
to-
Boy
So do I.
Scouts.
Are we
so
the
there we
same?
go.
You know,
We're the
what?
same person.
We're in sync tonight, Dave.
We are so in sync.
And I
I
know how to
think-
use a knife.
I think I could fish.
So speaking of handiwork, my waste disposal stopped working. I have no idea how to fix it. So maybe I should just learn and fix
You
my
should
waste
just
disposal.
learn. Yes.
All
won't
the
work
food was
anyways.
coming up my sink. It was kind of
Oh, that's great. Okay,
Really gross.
moving on. Learn how to butcher animals. So I know none of us can
That'd be
do.
tough.
Although that's something though back in the day that people would have that specific trait. You would go to the butcher who would do that for
Right.
you. So I don't think everybody necessarily knew how, but it is a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dave's saying find somebody who knows how to do that.
And make him your team. Put him on your
Exactly.
team. You are on my team. Derrial, you're on my team.
We're on the
Okay,
same
what
team.
about advanced first aid? I mean, I remember taking a CPR class in high school, but I don't really
not
know
do that
advanced
either.
first aid. And here we
remember.
see in the show Aaron actually stitching up Maggie.
Yeah.
That would have been useful, and I'm surprised he was actually doing it. Because he was like being all, oh, I don't want to do it, and then we see him later doing it just fine. So
Right? Yeah. When she first says it, he's like, really?
Yeah.
Right.
But apparently he didn't do a good job. So
Maybe he had some of the whiskey that they were.
the whiskey was for him, not for her.
It wasn't to, get the needle to be better.
But aren't you supposed to burn it? Like, aren't you?
They sterilized
Yeah,
it.
you're supposed to burn it. Yeah.
Because I would have thought that they would have been able to
I
get
learned that
to a
from
fire. They
Earl
were in a
in Doc
diner.
Walking Dead.
Well, there's no fire. Would they could make some type of fire with the wood or somewhere around there? Maybe not. I guess the dogs.
One more survival skill is trust your natural instincts. We all, at the end of the day, we are human, and we do have those basic natural instincts in all of us. So at the end of the day, trust your instincts, everyone.
All right. Well,
Survival skills.
Survival.
And now you know. We're like an infomercial here. Not only do we talk about Revolution, but we help you survive.
We do.
The more you know.
Oh, I love that music.
Yes.
All right, so let's jump back on the show with Miles cutting Nate free. So when panic and crisis happen, Miles is like, I just need my best men with me.
Yep.
So he cuts Nate free because he clearly knows, like, I just need somebody else to help me with Dogman.
Yeah.
I think he knows that Nate
need a
has a
dog
thing
man.
for Charlie, so he's going to have him with him
Yeah.
to help out.
So the two of them go off to try and find Charlie, and as they get close, Charlie calls out to them, and Dogman has set up an elaborate trap for a crossbow arrow to hit Charlie. The whole time I was thinking while she was trying to get away, why doesn't she just like duck forwards or something like that? Or
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't know if
clearly
she was
it's only left or right.
tied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how she was tied, if she could do that or not.
But Dogman goes up to fight these guys and tells Charlie, trust no one.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's going to come back at some point. That one little quote of wisdom from him, if maybe that will come back to her and she'll actually take that to heart. Because I don't know why else they would have thrown that line in there from him. So I feel like this might have to be an essential thing, him telling her, trust no one.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we see some betrayal later on. I want that to happen. I mean, right now I feel like the show's been playing it safe, and you can kind of predict how the characters are going to act, and I want to see some crazy. Like, I don't want to think that Nate's always going to do the best for Charlie. I don't want to think that Miles isn't ever going to leave her side now and be close to her, and Nora seems to be on Charlie's side too. So I definitely want to see some people betray her and see how she handles that, because that's how it is in the real world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not rolling with Kristen. She's going to betray me.
Yikes.
That's what I found out tonight. The more you know.
The more you know.
Okay, so Miles and Nate end up fighting Dogman. Dogman punches Nate out of the way, and Miles.
Dog man.
I just
Dog.
picture the man, half dog.
I'm picturing
Whenever you say that.
I'm
That
picturing
would have been awesome.
You know what it is? It's Dog the Bounty Hunter. He's the one.
Yes. He's the one.
Dog the Bounty Hunter. So Dog the Bounty Hunter is fighting with Miles, and Miles is starting to lose when Nate pulls an arrow out and stabs and kills Dogman.
Kind of saved Miles there.
Yeah, he
Nate
did.
Yeah, I think they kind of saved each other. I think Miles saved
Right.
Nate at the beginning, and then Nate kind of saves Miles at the end there.
So have they formed that sacred bond yet?
That's what
Well-
you guys do, right? You fight and then you're best friends.
That actually,
true.
that really
That
is.
is actually
That's
really true.
When you get my camp, I went to summer camp for 4 weeks. First week, I had a huge brawl with a kid. Afterwards, we were best friends throughout the rest
That's
of
what
camp.
happens.
But that brawl was intense.
And it was naked. I'm just kidding.
Okay, were you there, Kristen? How did you? Okay,
Where's
I don't know
this
how you knew
conversation
that, but
going?
that's really weird.
Some pictures surfaced on
Revolution!
Facebook.
I don't know why you're looking at 8-year-old pictures of me, but that's cool. Grape. So, I think Kristen's favorite moment happened right after this, which is Nate and Miles come into the room, and the trap goes off, and Charlie ends up getting just away from it, just barely escaping from it, and they give each other a little look. And then Kristen's favorite moment. Would you like to describe it, Kristen?
No, you go for it.
Okay. So they're going to run to go save Charlie, and as they're running
Slow
forward,
motion.
there's the trap wire there. And I'm sorry for those of you who are listening on the audio. Please check us out on YouTube. You can watch this. Literally, as they're running in slow motion, all Baywatch style.
Yep, Baywatch
Miles
style.
goes. Does this weird little,
does
like,
this
get
weird-
this string out of my way.
It's as if it's like a spider web.
Spider web, yeah.
So, but he looks a little bit perplexed by it while he's
Yes.
doing it. Like this isn't something he's used to doing, getting these little strings out of the way. So Kristen loved this moment, and we
actually
rewound it
stopped
and
and rewound it. Yeah.
Yes.
That was awesome. And you should do the same.
But
You
we
didn't
find
catch
out
that.
Charlie is safe. She's okay. They come back to the group, and Aaron has sewn up Maggie, and she stands up and gets shot by one of the people in the militia. I'm just trying to relate this back to last episode when Charlie sewed up the person, and right
Yeah, this
afterwards
I was
he
like,
got
wait a minute.
shot.
I literally was like, wait, did I watch the same show?
Apparently, I'm throwing everybody off. Last episode, Charlie sewed the person up, the rebel.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And he stood
yeah.
up and got shot right afterwards. So I was
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
relate it to that.
Well,
Don't
apparently,
confuse the listeners.
I mean, it happened the same way, though. I mean, you wasted your time. They're gonna die anyway.
Yeah,
In this
so it's
world,
true.
there's really no fixing them. Like, once they have that bite, just let them go.
You know, I think they're already a zombie once they have that bite. So I think that is a good point that you bring up, though, Kristen, that this, even though this person didn't stand up and get shot right away, these are two examples of someone getting sewn up to be healed, and right away they die immediately afterwards. And when Maggie dies, all she wants is her phone, and she looks and it makes her remember her kids, even though I thought there was going to be some timing there where somehow Aaron's pendant was going to react
I
with her
did too.
phone, and she
I
was
did.
going
Yeah,
to see
that
it.
would have been so corny, though, right? Thank
That's
God they
true.
didn't do that.
But I thought they were
I
going
thought they
to.
would do that as well.
So
No,
that doesn't
no,
happen, but she
no.
just remembers her kids, and she has that vision and tells Charlie that it's okay, you saved me. And Charlie says, please don't leave me. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And she just starts bawling, and Miles overhears that. And Miles, the Grinch, has a heart
And gives
and
her a
goes
hug.
over.
three
it
sizes
grew
that
3
day.
sizes, yes. Thank you.
No problem.
And he goes up to her and says, I'm not going anywhere, okay?
Yeah,
In a really meaningful way like that.
he did.
Well, and I think the reason when you guys saying about sewing them up and it doesn't really matter anyways, I think it's less about actually helping the person and more about knowing that you tried to help them.
Right.
It's definitely more for Aaron knowing that he at least attempted to do something.
Well, and to the defense of the show, they waited till after she lost basically all her blood in her body before they decided to sew her
Yeah.
up. They
Yeah.
didn't do it like right after it happened. I mean, it was.
Let's be human plugs.
Yeah,
And
you
then
know.
we'll get the needle.
Exactly. It took a while before they decided to actually sew her up. So
Yeah.
I want to point out 2 things here. One is that we found out last week they said, who's going to die next week? Somebody's going to die. We found out who, and also Derrial straight up called that.
do I get a T-shirt from NBC for that? A free T-shirt? Can I get a free T-shirt? Thank you. Or an applause.
Our
An
applause sounds like awesome.
No, I don't know. It was funny. At the beginning of the show, even the way that they kind of built up the backstory with Maggie, I was like, I think it's going to be Maggie. But then they sort
Because
of
they were
threw-
really trying to make you care about her.
care about her, and we finally got the reveal of who she was and why she was there. But then it threw me off sort of because I was like, maybe this is a setup. Maybe it's not her.
Yeah. And then
No,
all of a
it
sudden
had
Charlie
to.
dies.
It was
Right.
kind of like too little, too late for me. I mean, we get all this stuff, and suddenly I'm supposed to care about her for the first time this show, and then we kill her off. Like, that should have been last week's.
Right.
I agree.
You know, I
It
agree
should've
with
been-
that. I
it
think
should've
they
been
should have
last
said that.
week.
It was kind
Yeah.
of like the same thing with the Ben death from the first episode where we didn't get to know him at all. So
Yeah.
when he died, it was sort of just like a, okay.
But we miss him.
I don't know
We
him.
miss you, Tim.
We miss you, Tim. We're glad you were on tonight.
We are so glad.
I think he had to get rid of Maggie because Rachel's going to be coming back in a huge way.
That's
so
a
I
good
think it'd be
point.
too much to have two mother
Or that we get the
figures.
dueling mother figures.
Well,
That
we
gets
had-
to be too cheesy.
well, when we talk about our news and gossip, there are also going to be some new characters that may take the place of some of the
Oh,
ones that we
stay
have replaced. So
tuned,
stay tuned for that.
everybody.
So I do want to take this chance to say, guys, that we do this show and provide it for you, and we would love any feedback in any way possible, whether that go on iTunes. Please comment and rate us. We'll take both negative and positive feedback. We just want to know how to make this show better for you guys. Go to YouTube, comment, rate us, watch my awesome slow-mo version of tripping over a wire, and please tell us what you think, positive or negative. We just love seeing the feedback. Or you can come 11 p.m. Pacific time and listen to the live chat and chat with us, and we'll definitely read your comments out loud. And we'd love to interact with you guys, so come and check us out.
We know Watchtower's watching.
And call
Watchtower.
in.
Call in.
Yeah,
Watchtower.
call in.
Yeah, and you
Take
can always
call-ins.
call in. We do take callers.
Yeah.
So let's move on then to Tom Neville and Danny. And they are traveling together to Noblesville. And there's a storm brewing. And for anybody from the Midwest, or I'm sure the East Coast as well,
Right.
you know when the sky is green that you better get inside.
Yeah.
That is not good when you
That's
see the
real.
sky green.
I remember those times. Those were scary.
Me too.
Yeah.
Tornadoes. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I've seen a lot of tornadoes in my life. I do not miss those. I'll take earthquakes any day.
We still haven't experienced a real earthquake out here yet, so I guess we'll find out when one of those really comes.
I mean, there
not talk about
hasn't
it,
been
knock
a
on
real
wood.
one since
Yeah,
the
exactly.
70s. I
Very
don't
my
think.
grandfather was here during that earthquake,
During the
and he vowed to
70s.
never come back to LA afterwards. So,
I just kept thinking there's a storm coming, Captain Neville.
yes,
Yeah.
there's a storm
Very
coming.
Batman.
Yeah.
It kind of was.
It is very Batman.
So Danny feels the shift, and not only a shift, I kind of took it as a metaphorical shift as well.
Yeah.
Not just a shift in the
Right.
winds, but a metaphorical shift. But Danny is the one who's like, we need to just take shelter. This is not good. And Tom Neville's men are telling him, hey, we're like an hour away from Noblesville. Let's just do the hour.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. But Tom Neville listens to Danny. He really just likes Danny a lot. So they end up holding up and taking Danny's advice in the little shack, which doesn't do much when an actual tornado strikes if
Not
you're
at
in
all.
a shack above
It was
ground.
a basement, though, wasn't it? They got to the basement of the shack.
Well, they did eventually, but at the
Eventually.
beginning, I
At
think
the
they were just in
beginning
a
they
It
were.
shack.
was a storm
Yeah.
cellar, it looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Danny found a nail.
right. And stepped on it and got tetanus.
Every twist he dies in the next
I'm throwing out
episode.
all these twists they could be using. So, when the storm finally does strike, all chaos kind of breaks loose in the group because they really don't know what to do. And Danny decides this is time to run. And him and Neville start fighting and duking it out until they see the tornado actually start. And they see the
Yeah.
physical tornado. And they're like, let's not fight anymore. We'll team up for now. And fortunately, there happens to be a storm cellar there. So they find a storm cellar, go inside it, and we find a little bit about Tom's character. And more so than Danny's, this was kind of a character development part for Tom.
Right.
And I feel like we found out a lot of what I was saying last episode, where Tom, to me, felt like that father figure who was just watching his kids fight, and just when he was reading the paper, just like, those kids.
Yeah.
And he comes out and tells Danny, you remind me a lot of my son.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the character development for Tom during this scene?
I enjoyed it. I mean, we've kind of talked about this the last couple episodes. There is another side to Neville that is slowly being revealed. We knew that he wasn't just this hard ass the entire time. So by giving us those little pieces of information, I feel like it's kind of letting us develop into who he really is as a person. And as we keep saying, he clearly likes Danny, and it must be that he reminds him of his son or for some other reasons. The only thing I didn't like is the betrayal at the end of that scene, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more. But I do like the connection between the two.
And he kind of explains that he just wants a future for his child.
Yeah.
And he makes the comparison between Ben, not that he really knew Ben, but Ben and himself, about how your father, Ben, he just wanted what was to make a future for you, I'm sure. And that's how I can relate, is because I just want a future for my child.
Yeah.
So he's kind of bringing out that human element of himself to Danny and trying to explain, like, this is why he's making the decisions he's making. And he also brings up something important, which hopefully I'm hoping we'll get to see a lot more of, which is he talks about Danny. He's like, well, you don't understand. You don't remember what it was like right after the blackout. We also get that
He
tease.
said there was no food, no panic. There was nothing but death everywhere.
And we also get the tease with Maggie about how there apparently was some wars going
Yeah.
on right
Right.
afterwards. So I'm hoping we get to find out a little bit more about that. I want to see that and see what that was like right afterwards. So we find out that's probably really hardened and changed Tom. And he kind of mentions that, hey, if this didn't affect Ben and change him, then he's a better man than I am.
Yeah.
So it really, and we've seen that it's changed Miles, we found out. It's changed Sebastian Monroe. We found out, so it really has changed a lot of people who actually were old enough to go through this change. We have the cannibals. So
Cannibals.
I still feel like Captain Tom Neville is just looking for approval, though, still. Like
I got that too.
He feels so guilty about what he has done. He does feel guilty about killing people, you can tell. So he's got this good side, but it's like, it's taking away from his badassness.
Yeah.
I wonder if his son maybe was giving him a hard time about it, because if Danny reminds him of his son and he's seeking approval from Danny, it's probably his way of trying to get approval from his son, and who knows how they parted ways.
Yeah.
He's fighting to get back to his family, but maybe his family knows the circumstances and what his dad's doing, and probably aren't very happy about it.
Here's another twist. Danny's actually Tom Neville's son.
Dun dun dun.
Super twist.
That would be a crazy twist.
This is now a soap opera.
I mean, they look really
Danny,
similar.
I am your
They
father.
do look very similar.
Yeah.
So Tom yells out, "Amen!" and the roof collapses right after he yells that out and traps him. So he is trapped, and he gives Danny this choice. And he doesn't really give Danny the choice. I mean, Danny would have to make this choice anyways. But the choice is save Tom, or you can just leave.
No, you kill him in cold blood.
Right, or it's killing him in
He's
cold
so
blood.
manipulative.
But
That change we saw him go through, no, that was gone the minute something fell on top of him.
Right.
yeah, but he does go through a giant change, and he kind of seems kind of maniacal when he's telling Danny that stuff, like, "You're killing me in cold blood, don't you know?"
Yeah.
I kind of got this maniacal feel. I feel like he would have been more like pleading as
Yeah.
opposed to the character choice that he made with those lines.
Talking a little bit of crap.
And I think that was kind of I would take that as an actor choice. That was a strange actor choice to me. I would have taken it as, why wasn't he pleading a little bit more like, "Look, I told you about how you remind me of my son, and this is just like cold blood if you just leave me here." But a strange acting choice to me. But that was the choice he made, was to kind of be maniacal with it. And Danny he decides, I can't just leave this guy. And he gets the bathtub or what, sink. I think it was a sink or something.
Yeah.
He just
I think it was a sink.
pried wood off of him right before the sink fell down.
Yeah, was it a sink?
It looked like
It looked like a
Okay.
sink.
Yeah.
So he gets, it's probably my one that's been backing up. Ugh. Not
It's
doing
gonna happen
anything.
later.
Okay.
So-
yeah, so let's move past that. He barely gets out of there before it falls. And so he saved his life. And then they should be buddies, but they're not. And he handcuffs him.
See, if Danny, I kept thinking that maybe, because the kids seem to be a bit quick, you know, they're very smart and think on their feet a little bit. I would have figured he would have got Tom out of there and then maybe like smacked him on the head so that, okay, he's safe, but, you know, he's knocked out enough for me to get away. 'Cause that
Kristen,
seemed
you're
what they
smarter than
should do.
Danny.
He seemed.
I sort of wanted.
little bit
I
of
know
it.
I knew he probably wasn't going to die, but I sort of wanted him to die at that moment. I wanted that sink to just kind of crash onto his face. I thought it would have been a.
What if
great-
that happened and Maggie
Face
survived?
off again?
I know. Then I would. Well, they could have
Breaking
two
Bad.
people die.
That would have been a twist.
Yeah.
Or it would have been a twist if Danny would have died, and then they get to their journey and they find out it wasn't worth anything.
That would have been a huge twist.
That's a good twist.
That would have been
yeah.
awesome.
That'd been
Please kill
crazy.
someone off.
Like when the roof fell, I go, I wonder if that's going to actually be the death if they get rid of Danny, because that would be a huge death, and these people are still searching for something they'll never find.
That's true.
Oh,
That's a
and
good
what a
one.
Until they
nice
open the
lesson in
shed
life that
That's a
He's
good
is.
a
one.
zombie, so.
Yeah,
Aren't we
zombie.
all searching for something we may never find? Or perhaps does not exist?
It's a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Just like, yeah, honestly, if they would throw us all for a loop like that and kill off a main character, everyone would be talking about the show and they'd come in to see how they were going to deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's all you got to do is kill someone we really like.
Yeah.
So,
Just
regardless,
not Miles. He's fun.
Neville, as you were complaining about, does turn around and just handcuff Danny immediately and says, "You're more important than you know."
Yeah.
And I mean, who didn't see that coming? Honestly, I
Yeah,
kind
we
of
saw it
was like,
coming.
okay, this is gonna
It was
happen.
predictable. That
Yeah.
part.
Right.
But I was kind of, I guess the one thing I didn't think it was going to be that quick. He was just
Yeah.
going to pop right into it and
Yeah.
just handcuff him straight up. I thought maybe they'd be walking and talking, and then he was
You
going to
didn't
do
need
it
to
somehow,
run it.
or maybe somehow talk him into it. But he straight up throws that out, and at the moment, Danny is handcuffed. So I also want to take a moment before we talk about the C story, the C arc here, to talk about that we have an amazing fall lineup here at AfterBuzz TV. Not only can you listen to Revolution with us, you've also got shows like Walking Dead with Derrial Christon, Kristen, and I, and you've got tons of other great shows. You've got shows like the Emmy award-winning Homeland. You got Derrial on room 666?
666 Park Avenue.
666 Park Avenue.
Ooh.
And Revenge has just started up, which people are really loving and digging. Once Upon a Time. So tons and tons of great shows. You can definitely listen to all of your favorite after shows here right on AfterBuzz TV. So let's talk about the whole C story. And we found out a little bit more about Sebastian Monroe and Rachel.
He's kind of always had a crush on her. That was weird. I mean, we kind of predicted that, but just the way he was like talking about it, like, you know what I want, or I'm not sure what his exact words were.
When he first said that, that's what I took it as, is he had a crush on her, but then immediately he followed with questioning her about the electricity.
But he touched her in a weird way.
He did touch her in a weird way.
He stroked her hair just like Dogman.
Dogman.
Dogman. So I do want to point out,
Dogman is dead. I hope he comes back and he's like half dog, half man.
That would be amazing. He got bit and didn't get rabies. He turned into a dog man. I do want to point out one of our viewers, Kyle Lamke. I don't know how to pronounce those last words, but he did point out to us that they're not in the White House. They're actually in Independence Hall.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also get to that later, but he was correct. And we do see this exterior once again of Independence Hall, and that's where she is. And Monroe is giving the speech we were talking about how he's always wanted something, and then starts grilling her about Ben. And he's proving to her, like, look, I'm not an idiot. I realize Ben, like, who is he? He was part of the Department of Defense. You can tell me your bullshit story about, you know, that he's a teacher, but I realize he's part of the Department of Defense. He knows that he was there with Miles when Ben called Miles right before the lights came out, saying that the lights were going out. So he's just like, look, I'm not an idiot, woman. I know what's going on. And
what I'm wondering is, why doesn't she just say anything? Because he doesn't know if any of it would be true anyway. So make up, have an imagination, make up something.
She just does give this like smug look the whole time.
Yeah.
It's a really smug look that she's giving.
Yeah.
But he ends up saying, like, leaving, and the torture stuff is pulled out. Basically, like, implying that she's going to get tortured.
Yeah.
If she now at this point, like, he's sick of it.
Why didn't we see that?
Well, you know what though? I don't think she did get tortured, because when we do come back to it later,
she doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, she looks totally fine.
Yeah.
So she couldn't have really been tortured.
So why was that scene in there?
Maybe he was threatening her, and it was just a threat.
Yeah.
He's still keeping her in the nice place too. He didn't move her out of Independence Hall.
And that's something he points out to her, like, look, I've been treating you really well. I could have you in a prison, but I've been treating you really well. Just tell me what's going on. But this is what I've been wondering. It's been 15 years since the blackout. So why has it taken this long for him to culminate to pressing her this much about it?
Yeah.
That's the one question I have, is why did it take him 15 years to finally get to this point?
Well, I guess we don't know when Miles split off from the militia, because I'm guessing that while Miles was there, Ben's brother, he kind of kept an eye on Rachel and made sure that she was okay, and whatever her role was to be there, which we still have not figured out.
No.
Yeah. So Monroe finally tries to press, with what I think is going to press Rachel's buttons at the end, with, what kind of mother are you?
Yeah.
You left your children, completely abandoned them, and I'm going to bring Danny here, and now we finally get the huge plan, the plot point, what he's going to do, and I'm going to torture him right in front of you. Maybe, you know what, maybe that's why I pulled out the torture equipment, was just to show her, to lead up to explain, I'm not torturing you, I'm torturing your son.
That makes sense.
So that could have been why, it was just to give her that visual. And then we found out later in the scene what it was there for.
And he called her a cold bee.
Yes.
Lots of swear words.
Lots of swear words.
So
we could have a drinking game at this point.
Next week.
They're throwing them all out.
I know.
I'll bring the cups.
D's and B's all over the place. So let's talk about the flashback here now, that the whole Charlie with her mother, and this is kind of the theme of both Charlie, everybody in her life is leaving her, and at the same time, Ben explains to Charlie and the kids, like, hey, Rachel's just going to go get some supplies, don't worry about it. She's not. And and some air, and Rachel is crying on the way out, and Charlie doesn't get to see that, but we find out, just for us as the viewers, that Rachel really is depressed about that, and she's crying as she's leaving, and she comes up to the twist. It's not Sebastian Monroe that she's coming to, it's actually Miles, and she says, look, I just want to see my kids again. and Miles doesn't respond and just
No.
handcuffs her and gives her no response. So we see that cold, hard-ass side of Miles of kind of being a dick.
Yeah.
So, a selfish dick,
In the words of Nora.
in the words of Nora. Not much Nora in this episode when I think about it.
No, not at all.
No, she's pretty
Just
quiet.
at the top of the episode. That's it.
I kind of liked seeing that it was Miles. I mean, I suspected it when
Right.
she starts walking up because there's got to be some big.
Do we know what
reveal with
her
him.
job was or why he would? I mean, what's your prediction for why Miles asked her to come?
She must be good at whatever her job is, and they needed somebody in the militia for it. And he probably the power went to his head. I'm assuming, as it would with most people.
Well, here's the thing, though. Why would he handcuff her if the
Yeah.
point was that they're going to have her help them? Why handcuff her? So,
Maybe they were taking her to wherever the base was because it didn't look like they were in a distinct place. It looked more like a barn.
Right,
I'm
that they
wondering
were
if
in.
I think there must have been some sort of agreement that they came to where if he took her as some sort of compensation, Ben or somebody else from another party wouldn't act. So I think it's
Or perhaps they were going to give her children supplies and food because Ben said they have more food than they can eat. So perhaps like she exchanged herself for
For the
supplies.
supplies. So
That
maybe
would
it
make
really
sense.
was for supplies. But at the same time, why would they handcuff her? Well, I guess like she's sort of a prisoner and
Well, didn't they take the handcuffs off once she got there?
I think it was right when she got there that they put them on.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was what I took it as.
She doesn't have handcuffs on anymore, obviously. But I tend to think it also might have something to do with Miles saying, you have to come with me for whatever it is that the purpose is so that I can save your children and Ben, because if other people know that Ben knows why the power went out, they're going to be after him.
Right.
So if you come with me and help me with whatever it is, I'll make sure they're safe and they won't get touched.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think you're probably right on that.
Yeah.
Right on the money. So let's talk about some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right. Well, I know we lost Dogman tonight and our girl Maggie.
Dog man.
Dogman. But there are two new characters that will be appearing on the show. Neville's wife and Aaron's wife will be coming to Revolution soon. So, as TV Guide has said, prepare to meet not one but two lovely ladies in the upcoming episodes. Not only will we be meeting Neville's wife, whose name is Julia, played by Kim Raver, who's from Lipstick Jungle, I believe,
Yeah.
in Grey's Anatomy. We will also be meeting Aaron's wife, Priscilla, whose name is Maureen Sebastian.
Now, do you think these characters are going to be still alive or they're going to be introduced in flashbacks?
That's a great point,
That's
Dave.
a good point.
I'm thinking flashbacks, especially for
Because it
Aaron's
doesn't
wife.
say, it
Yeah.
just says it would not confirm if these people would be in the present or the past. So that's a very excellent point you
I
have there,
hope
Dave.
that they're flashbacks. I don't want any more characters in the present.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to further develop the characters that are there, not add to.
Yeah, I feel like maybe one out of the two will be a present and one, will be fulfilled.
I guess maybe they could like run into their wives. Maybe that would actually be cool to see like the reuniting of a family.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be fun to see.
That would be, yeah, that would be. Another TVGuide.com article was with executive producer David Rambo. He was interviewed and he was speaking about the story behind the pendants and Randall's origin. And basically, Rambo promises that we'll learn more about what happened between Randall and Grace very soon in upcoming episodes. He also said Randall's very much a part of the story, very much important. He's a part of the story that was more for the story to come. He confirms that those who share the pendants, which include Randall, Grace, Ben, and Aaron, all are related in a mysterious way that will be told very soon.
Ben/Aaron, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And, well, it says Ben and now Aaron. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, so got it,
Yeah,
got it.
sorry.
Passed on.
Yes. So Rambo even says that there may be more members introduced into the Pendant Posse as well. So.
The pendant posse.
The Pendant Posse, I like that.
Ooh.
And then the last thing is that NBC Revolution is doing very well. It dipped slightly a little bit last week in ratings, but they're still doing very strong. In fact, at the 10 o'clock time slot, it came in right under Castle for ABC, but Revolution got 8.4 million viewers, so we're kicking
Wow,
butt.
that's
And
a lot.
I do believe, as we pointed out last week too, and we'll point out again, they've been officially they have a full season.
They have a full season.
They now have a full season, so
Yeah.
it will be on at least for this first season.
Yay!
Yay!
So-
Good job,
There you
NBC.
go, Revolution.
Good job, J.J. Abrams.
Is it 13 episodes, or have they confirmed the number?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
We'll
the
have to
number
look that
yet.
up.
We'll
So
look that up for
you know
next
what I was
week.
thinking about when we're talking about characters dying and being introduced? You know a really easy way to cheat a lot of times? Just go on IMDb and see how many episodes a character's listed for.
That's true.
Right.
That's very true.
I try not to do that, but I was thinking about that also with Walking Dead. It's just like, I guess you could go on IMDb and just see how many episodes.
Yeah, that spoils the fun, though.
It does spoil the fun. So
Maybe they just go away for a while and come back in season 2.
Well, and then you could also see them in flashbacks.
Exactly.
So they could
Yeah,
die. and it
that's
doesn't
true.
matter.
That's true.
that is true.
Because Maggie was listed for, I think, 6 on IMDb.
Is she? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Maybe
cheated.
my theory is wrong, at least for this show, where you have flashbacks. So let's talk about some of the comments that we got on YouTube to the Tim Guinea interview, because unfortunately last week, and I guess we didn't get to explain this at the beginning, but we were having technical issues with the cameras, so the YouTube didn't go up. The audio did go up on iTunes for last week's episode. But last week on the Tim Guinea interview that you guys killed it for, Andrew Figuarelli commented that he agrees with Kristen and that he loves that both timelines are at the same time, that you're seeing two at once.
Thank you,
And
Andrew.
thank you as well, JSM328, on commenting. We appreciate it. And on iTunes, we had Hawaii Shoe Girly, BYYSD, BlinkFan88, and Kyle Lamke. Maybe it's Lamke. Maybe that's what it is. Tell me. Just tell me this week. Tell me how to say it. Call in. And he was correcting us. He's a fan, and thank you so much for enjoying our show. That he further explained that it wasn't the White House as I was predicting and clearly wrong about. It was Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That Kristen, Pennsylvania. That
What? Pennsylvania?
that the Rachel is in. So
Right.
that was the exterior shot that we got to see before and that we saw today. So Independence Hall. So thank you so much, guys. We do appreciate it. So
That's awesome.
let us then talk about our predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So they're blowing up a train next week.
We got a choo-choo train.
Why are they blowing up the train?
Because Danny's on it.
So they're gonna blow him up.
Yeah. Well,
Good
no.
plan.
Well, I think they're going to
No.
probably blow up the rest of the train where he's not in the specific car.
Right. I think
That
they're
was
trying
my
to
guess.
blow up and stop the front of the train, the engine part of the train. So wherever he is, it has to stop and they can't get away through the train. But this is, I think, what I really got out of it that I think was important is that we're seeing that kind of what I talked about in the fact that a lot of cars, not all of them ran only on electricity. Trains, you have trains that ran on coal. That apparently, unlike boats, still exist. So you do have trains that run on coal still existing, and they would still work without electricity and power, and we're going to see that setting. So this is kind of another also take on sort of a Wild Wild West version of the show in a way, which it kind of, with Will Smith, which it kind of bounces on sometimes, and so we're seeing that. But we have a clash here, so we're going to finally see the interaction.
Right.
Neville, Miles, and Charlie, and the whole group there are finally clashing. What
Up
do you guys
until
think is gonna
this
happen?
point, Tom has, been on his own sort of quest with Danny, and they haven't come together at all. He has not. I know that he knows Miles because we sort of get that clip next week where they kind of see each other, and he's like, "You're Miles Matheson," or whatever. And so they did know of each other. I mean, I guess since he was in the militia as well, it makes sense, and everyone knows who he is. But up until this point, he has been separated from the group. So it'd be nice to sort of see everyone's interactions with Tom and see whose side he's really on. I mean, at the end of the day, he could switch sides. He used to be with Miles, so maybe they could talk him into it. And I feel like he's, at this point, could be persuaded to a certain side because he keeps looking for approval. It doesn't seem like he wants to kill people, so who knows?
What I think is going to happen is I think Neville is going to get away. And I think the way he's going to get away is Nate is going to flop sides again and end up, because Neville's there, help Captain Tom Neville get away with Danny in a way where he doesn't harm Charlie. But he is going to help the militia out, and I think that's how they're going to get away. So that's my prediction.
I don't want to be
for next
hunting
episode.
for Danny anymore, so I hope that they get him
I think
back.
they've got to get away, though, for a reason why they're going to continue and somehow make it to Independence Hall. So then their next quest is going to be to make it to Independence Hall.
Where is Nobleville? Where are we at now? What state? Do we know?
I think we're in Indiana right now.
Okay.
So we were in Illinois for the beginning of the season. Now we're in Indiana. So they're heading a little south.
Maybe, they get Danny back, but they lose Charlie, and then Charlie is with, Nate. And
I hope not. I just want them to not lose anyone anymore.
Yeah.
They'd be flopping around
They'll be flopping around.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that was weird.
All right, so, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this week's on Revolution.
Come flop with us.
Definitely come check us out next
And
week.
flop.
We will be here again. And once again, I am Dave Klein. You can also call me Kristin Klein if you wish.
Or
You can find
the
me-
dog man.
Or the dog man, bounty hunter. You can find me on Twitter at the Dave Klein. That's Klein. Or go to my website djk-online.com.
And I'm Kristin Carole, and you can find me on Twitter on the fan, FAN2CTOSEE.
Oh, I'm Kristen
Sorry.
Elizabeth Snyder, and you can find me on Twitter at Cinematic Escape, or you can Bing Cinematic Escape and follow my blog.
I'm Derrial Christon. You can find me under the same name on Twitter, DerrialChriston, and also on Facebook.
And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.